Bagfuel, baby.
You've done both at a high level. Media, podcasting, television, music. Which do you enjoy creatively and which was the best financially?
Podcasting has been the best financially. Podcasting and television have been the best financially. I still get residual checks from random shows that we did on that I did with Jay on TV and everything else.
When you do the podcast, and they got more than us. They got sponsorship. And
They got
all that
everything.
type of
We
stuff.
did it,
But
we did an ad partnership.
Yeah, and we do it differently. We get our money differently. We do and it's still been like I tell people right now. I said, podcasting right now is the first thing that's putting me back to where I was in like 07, 08 with getting my money how I want to get it.
Well, also just being able to count on it without having to like constantly be, you know what I mean?
What you mean
Hustling
count
for
on it? When you
It's like once you can, it's easy to pick up momentum with advertising. Like once your growth is not going to stagnate because y'all are making quality content at this point. So people that are tuning in, it's a natural progression to spread the word. Even if it's a slow burn, it's not going to stop growing because podcasting is gradually still becoming more popular, still trendy. So it's like, the more output, that is the natural growth is going to happen. So it's like you can count on advertisers, you can count on the money coming in. It's the momentum that you don't necessarily have when you're creating and you're only counting on music, or you know what I mean. There's no. There's no opportunities for passive income.
No, the influencer market is unlimited.
Right.
We can influence clothes, sneakers, overall style, hair, glasses,
all of it,
nails, jewelry,
all of it,
everything, hats.
Yeah.
It's unlimited. You can endorse sports teams. Whatever that we do that's dope, we can influence on that market. With music, you got to blow up and be a super duper star to do that. And then they look to see
everything else.
What you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But how, all right, on the business tip though.
Yeah.
And I know these questions, but this is what people want to know.
Yeah.
How does a songwriter, how do you have a song that ends up on your record and also on the songwriter's record at the same time, legally?
Can you give me an example? When you say it ends up on the same...
Like if a songwriter, like say I wrote the record for you and you put the record out. Am I going to be able to still put the record out on if I want to put out a project as well?
It depends on who owns if you own the masters of the project, sure.
So you think that the songwriter would be able to own the master? Like say you at Rock Nation, you know what I'm saying? And you doing your thing and I give you the record. Do you think that I'll still have the power after I've given y'all the record to still put it on my project?
Unless there is a contract that says that the label then owns the record. And there's been money paid. There's been a transaction where there's been money paid for the record. The songwriter owns the record. The songwriter and the producer own the record.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean,
so you ever been through that with yourself? Because don't you songwrite and then you take songs too?
Yeah, but I mean, it happened. The Frank Ocean situation that happened was more so because the paperwork and stuff wasn't in order, but also as a creative, he was completely attached to the record and did not want to give the record up.
Okay.
So he released, they couldn't come to an agreement about it despite whatever conversations were being had. And if the song was going to go to an artist, he wanted it to go to a bigger artist than me, and I was a new artist at the time. Okay. He knew ultimately as a creative the power of that record, right? Think About Forever is the record, if anybody, or Think About You. I don't remember which title he went with, but that song. I mean, we recorded an album around that record. Like that was the one. We were so excited about it. That was, you know what I mean. And he did it with my producer, with Shay Taylor. So shout out to Shay. We didn't think anything of it. So he decided, if it's not going to go to Beyonce or Rihanna, I want to keep the record because y'all are not going to know what to do with it. Essentially, that's how he felt. He was like, she's a new artist. It's too big a record for her. Y'all not gonna run it the way it needs to be run. I'm gonna just keep it for myself.
And by run it, he meant by put the budget behind it. Correct?
Bridget, hearing that story, hearing how you came into the game, and you're under a different scrutiny as a woman. You got to look a certain way, maneuver a certain way. You're not allowed to make mistakes. You can't be broke. Nothing like that. How do you maintain your sanity? What are things you're doing? You've lost out on a big song from Frank Ocean. You started out podcasting when nobody even knew you were going to be in this space, so you came up differently. How do you keep yourself sane? What are the factors you do? Because how do you control your insecurities? Because everybody think when you're in this space, you're Superman and nothing bothers you, a superwoman. I want to hear the rundown for the women that are watching this and like, Bridget inspires me.
I mean, I had a backwards entry into the industry. I started here. It's like my first performance as a signed artist was at Madison Square Garden. So for me, I was around.
You hitting home runs already.
Right. Out the gate. You know what I mean? It's like you going from the G League to the All-Star game.
How'd your head feel? How was you? Was your head intact, or was you on some different shit?
Was you
when I started getting my money, I told people.
See, but I didn't get money when I got the notoriety.
Oh, okay.
They didn't come hand in hand, which is the ultimate misconception about artists. Is you think you have money. No. With the artists, I was still I was taken care of, but it wasn't money. I wasn't seeing
make sure your
six
rent
figures
is good.
in the first.
If you need a couple dollars, we got you a stipend.
Yeah, and then I was able to go on tour, and that helped me out a lot. And then I did like some guest appearances on television shows and hosting and things like that. That helped me out a lot. I really wanted to host 106th and Park. That was like on my bucket list. No, I wanted to host the show. I wanted to host the show. I wanted to do the countdown and talk to the artists, and like I really wanted to do that.
Was that before the business got fuzzy, before Frank took the record, or was that something you wanted to do, period?
It was something I always wanted to do, right? I looked at J-Lo's business model, and I was like, that's the direction. That's how I want to attack the industry.
Explain, please.
Because she always wanted to do music.
She did it.
She did dance first.
But by starting, she was an actress playing an artist.
Selena.
So she got the notoriety and the attention by playing a different artist, but she bodied the role. It's like, obviously there's elements of her in there. And then within like 2 years of that being one of the biggest movies of the 90s, she releases a project. And now she's doing music and she's doing movies at the same time. And she's, you know what I mean? It was all these simultaneous things that were working in her favor just to like make her a household name.
But she was so special. Because she had the special sauce, because she had Puff Daddy, who was hot as a firecracker, and then Puff Daddy walked her ass to Corey Rooney, and Corey Rooney, Tommy Tola had the budget and the song.
Think about all the people she was around. She was around 50, early 50. She got to see that. Puff, Tommy.
You also have to bear in mind, though, too, she worked her ass off.
Yeah, she definitely worked.
Like,
I don't want to take her credit away.
Nobody was working more than her.
A fly girl, like. And most people that are younger than me have no concept of
the work she put in.
Living Color, at all. They don't remember. They never existed.
Janet Jackson videos and everything.
Right.
Come
no
on,
one
son.
knew the dancing, the choreography she was doing. Nobody was aware of that.
People don't even realize Jamie Foxx was in Living Color.
Right.
That cast is
Jim Carrey. What are we talking about? Damon Wayans, Marlon Wayans.
Jim Carrey got his start
on Living Color.
Like.
David Allen Greer, Tommy Davidson.
Yeah.
The whole crew was all-stars,
Think about that think tank. You ever been in that type of think tank, Bridget, where you were just like in a room? Because Essa would tell me about the rooms he was in, the rooms I was in. You just sit there like, this is a different level of thinking. Like people say when they're around Elon, they could just see him thinking about, how I'm going to create another Earth. Versus you hanging around somebody, what type of weed we going to smoke?
I don't think I was ever in a think tank like that. I remember being in a studio environment and watching all of the moving parts with no ID and realizing no one else is doing this right now. No one else is simultaneously digging through crates to find vinyls while somebody is playing guitar and he's like, no, not like that. It has to be so specific, like specifically pinpointing and producing. Like that to me was like a very different. What's the matter?
I was talking to him about producing. We have a back and forth. I was just talking to him about producing on the ride here. Please keep going because you're making me look like a genius. Please.
So to me, you got somebody, and I will say, Dion, No ID is not the only person I've been in a room with that has done that. Jerry Wonder is another person that does that. And so to me, there are a handful of
Dr.
guys.
Dre does that. He makes his own sound.
I heard about that.
So
I seen him do it.
So in my mind, I'm like, this is why I want to be in music, is because of moments like this, where it's like there are so many different creative avenues that people can go down, and whatever the product is, people have already decided before you even hear it, before it's even done, that it's going to be a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And so to me, that there is something about that, the essence of music in those moments, the collaborative effort that's like, oh my God, this is why we do the shit. This is really why we do the shit.
And then you find out after you do the song, and then when you're trying to do the business, then you find out, hey, motherfucker's an asshole.
Well, it wasn't even
assholes.
Right. But also there's no room for anybody that is that creative and whimsical in that dreamy state of creation that's gonna come in with a business model and try to confine all of that without it being offensive. There's just no way there's no way around that. Which I think was why the Frank thing was so tough, because it was just like, I'm an artist and I get it. Like how can I tell this artist that, you know what I mean? He has no idea that he's probably gonna derail my entire project by doing this. But it's not. But it wasn't about me. Like his decision wasn't about me. It wasn't to smite me. It wasn't to shit on me. It wasn't. It really wasn't about any of that. That was just his creative thing. And I'm sure that has happened to countless artists who have wanted a record or thought a record was supposed to be for them, and they passed on it, and they, you know what I'm saying, and then it ended up blowing up for someone else. So we hear those stories all the time where it's like, damn, that's a record I wish I would have had. There's plenty of records I listen to now, and I'm like, Pretty sure I would have done that. I would have done a better job.
And that's why I asked you about your mental state and your resiliency. Because to have what's happened with you with Frank, to have even when the whole breakup with the Joe Network, even when the co-host, there's a lot of shit you've had happen to you publicly for over 13 years. Yeah. Some people just get viral for a couple of months and that's their whole life. 13 years minimum. Yeah. You've been in the news for some fuck shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I just was like, yo, how does she mentally deal with this?
That's why
honestly, that's important to me.
I use J-Lo as an example because she can just pivot when it's like, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't, and she's a fire sign too. There's just something about me as my sense of myself as a person is like, if something doesn't work, if a situation doesn't work, okay, I'll move on to the next situation and make something else work. I always felt like I had the capacity for that. So if music doesn't work, all right, cool. I'm a personality. I can read a teleprompter. I know how to talk to people. I read. I do the work on myself. I'm in therapy.
But you're different. See? You know why? And I'm going to stop you right there. Because of the experience that we have, you know that singing might have been just a thing that opened the door. It. I might have loved to do this. I might have wanted to go on stages and they come and all 30,000 be here for me. But you know what she is? I'm thankful because being in this business and being around this, I could do that. I could do that. Yeah. I could do that too. And they're chunky positions. I can make a lot of money. Yeah. I still got the relationships with these people. Yeah. And I can use my relationships with these people to make this area much better.
Yeah.